It's time now to get an update on the world's business news with Karis Garland. Hi, Karis.
Hi, Monty.
So EU member states are meeting in Brussels this week to prepare an 11th round of sanctions on Russia over its war in Ukraine, this time turning their attention to loopholes and trade restrictions.
Exactly. So Brussels really wants to crack down on these third countries that are facilitating the re-exportation of sensible technology that can be used on the battlefield, such as microchips. Proposals made on Monday include curbing exports to nations it suspects of helping Moscow evade trade sanctions, plus blacklisting several Chinese companies that sell equipment that can be used in weapons. One of those firms is reportedly King Pi Technology, which provides technology for cruise missile guidance systems. Beijing said it opposes decisions that use Russia-China relations as a pretext to impose illegal sanctions.
If the reports are true, the EU's actions will seriously undermine mutual trust and cooperation and aggravate the division and confrontation in the world, which would be dangerous. We urge the EU not to take the wrong path, otherwise China will firmly defend its reasonable and legitimate rights and interests.
The cost of living crisis in Turkey could harm President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's re-election bid. Inflation slowed to 44% in April, though residents still complain of not being able to afford meat and other basic products. Voters blame Erdogan's refusal to raise interest rates as well as a currency crisis. The lira fell to an all-time low against the dollar in March. Leo McGuinn has more.
For many Turks getting ready to vote in Sunday's general election, they will no longer cast their ballots for Recep Tayyip Erdogan. For this barber, based in Istanbul, it's all down to the government's economic policies.
I'd say those responsible are the ones governing us. They're making all the decisions about the economy and the country. I think it's the wrong decisions they've taken. I used to be an AKP supporter, but I don't think I'll vote for them anymore.
Erdogan is facing the biggest threat to his presidency since being elected. An economic programme which saw the government push for interest rate cuts instead of increases, leading to a cost of living crisis, as well as a weakened currency. The 69-year-old was able to maintain a strong voter base due to economic growth in his first decade of rule, but since his re-election in 2018, inflation has spiralled. In April, it dropped to 43.7%, but peaked as high as 85.5% in October of last year. In fact, at the end of 2022, Turkey had the fourth highest level of inflation in the world, behind only Zimbabwe, Venezuela and Sudan. The Turkish lira has dropped 76% during Erdogan's latest term, and food prices continue to rise, up 54% in April this year compared to last. Despite all these factors, not everyone is willing to blame the president.
Inflation is very difficult for us, but people are guilty of this. It's not Erdogan's fault.
Some polls show Erdogan trailing Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu ahead of Sunday's first-round vote, although the gap has recently narrowed.
Meanwhile, Ukraine has accused Russia of obstructing grain exports from the Black Sea. The country's reconstruction ministry says Moscow is refusing to register incoming ships and therefore violating the terms of last year's Black Sea grain deal. According to the ministry, 90 ships, including 62 vessels for loading, are waiting in Turkish waters before approval to go to Ukrainian ports. The Turkey and UN brokered deal is due to expire on May 18. Let's take a look at how the markets fared this Monday. On Wall Street, the major indexes were little changed after the bell as investors prepare for a new round of US inflation data this week, which could determine how central banks around the world act on interest rates. The Dow Jones closed almost 0.2% down, and the Nasdaq up by about the same amount, while the S&P 500 finished flat. And a winner has been announced for the Concours Lépine, an annual competition for inventions at Foire de Paris, a major retail expo. This year, the prize went to Colin Gaulois and Lancelot Durand for Drift, a braking system for wheelchairs. Their invention, a different wheel with its own backpedaling brake system, would stop users getting friction burns on their hands when they try to slow down. The pair of wheels is currently being sold for €2,000. And as a prize for winning that competition, they were awarded a vase, Monty, not cash.
A vase?
Yeah, a vase. I imagine it's a high-valued vase, but
Okay.
there you are.
All right, great. Karis, thanks so much. Well, it's time now for our daily fact-checking segment, and France 24's